What's going on, nerds? My name is Jesse, and we are back with another Two Guys review of this movie. Today we're doing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which came out in 2004 and was directed by Alfonso Cuarón. We're back again with Justin.
What's up, guys? For the first time doing Prisoner of Azkaban.
Woo! First take, one take every time. Don't forget that we post these videos every Tuesday, so if you're liking the series, come back from the next Tuesday where we'll keep doing this Harry Potter series and sprinkling in new movies as we go. Brother, I'm pretty sure this is your favorite Harry Potter movie. What do you think?
It absolutely is, and this is a little bit of a trip with rating it because I rate this movie as a 9 as its own movie, but it is my personal favorite, and I actually have a movie later on in the series that I rate as a 10. So even though it is my personal favorite, I think there are things that could have been improved on it. But as a movie, like with a new director and going to this darker side, it does it so fantastically, and the shots that are in this movie and the plot that it takes, it's amazing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. For me, it's a 10 out of 10. It's the only legitimate 10 out of 10 in the Harry Potter series for me personally. I know I gave Sorcerer's Stone a 10 out of 10, but I think that's more of a nostalgia 10 out of 10, whereas this is a legitimate 10 out of 10. I think Alfonso Cuarón is probably the best director to ever direct a Harry Potter film. And I think that his motifs and things that he does in the film, especially his motif that having the camera go through the glass and through the mirrors and really gives you a sense of reflection and how Harry Potter is trying to deal with the stuff on the inside. What do you think?
I think it's a great vision in, and I think it gives a great tell of what's happening in the story. You know, you don't get a lot of narrative and a lot of thoughts due to the fact that this was a novel turned into a movie. So them using the shots as a way to show you what is really going on in Harry's life and in his inside is a great tell of what all this is happening is changing him and turning him into the person that we all know and love in the later films.
Yeah, I also think one other thing, we're gonna stop praising Alfonso Cuarón after this, I swear. But he does deserve a lot of credit for this film. One of the other motifs that he has is like these long one shots where the camera is always moving. The one that comes to mind is when Dumbledore says happiness can be found in the darkest of times in the Great Hall. And the camera is really moving and it's coming towards him and away from him and at an angle towards him. And it really gives you like a sense of urgency to the film and a sense of like fast pace. And we're going to move through this goddamn film. And it's just, I really like that.
I agree. And I think that they handle those one shots really well. I mean, the actors in this film are still very young at this point and they do such a great job of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just handled greatly, and I'm really happy to see how they transformed this movie and led the rest of the series.
All right, getting into spoiler territory here, guys. I think the start of this film is like maybe the first 15 minutes or so. It's pretty light, and then it starts transferring into the darker stuff. But starting off with Lumos Maxima, the made-up spell that's not in the books everybody hates on for no reason. What do you think?
I think it's really interesting, and I think it gives it a lot of space. I wish that they had taken advantage of it, but it gives it a lot of space for them to try and expand away from what was strictly to the books and what they could have done differently with the movies. I mean, J.K. Rowling has stated multiple times that she loved the direction that the movies went, and she was always willing to work with them on it, and I just wish they had taken more advantage of it like they did here, with trying to do things differently and trying to make it seem as though you could have spells that you didn't really know about.
Yeah. Definitely, I agree 100%. And then having a little bit of humor at the beginning of the film with Vernon coming in and out while Harry's faking sleep. And then we have the blow up your aunt scene, which is pretty light still, even though she's a total horrible person. Doesn't mean that it's very dark, because it's really not. She's just one person, and we blow her up and send her away anyways. And then we have the great bus scene after that.
Oh, the night bus is amazing. And I think that's handled really well with light tones, even though it definitely has a dark aura around it. Like, that scene is very dark in terms of the lighting, in terms of the color schemes. They handled it really well to show you that this isn't a normal bus, but at the same time, the humor keeps everything lighthearted.
Yeah, I actually really agree with that. I think once we get to the Leaky Cauldron, that's where like the first turn of this film is, because that's where it starts to get a little bit darker, and you have the great scene between Ron's dad. What is Ron's dad's name?
Oh, you are killing me with these names today,
sorry,
man. Throwing out the names that I don't remember.
I can never remember Ron's dad's name.
Oh, yeah. It feels real bad.
Arthur
You're making me
Weasley.
feel.
Okay, there we go. Couple of Google strokes. That's all it takes, guys. There's a great scene in Leaky Cauldron between Arthur Weasley and Harry, and I think that's where the one take and the camera moving like really shines, because there's a scene. It's Arthur wants to warn Harry about Sirius Black. Okay, and Sirius Black's the overarching villain in this film, even though not really. So Arthur's walking around and he's moving Harry between scene to scene. So there's a great frame where Arthur is standing. It's Arthur, Harry, and then in between there's a poster of Sirius Black, and it frames basically that Arthur's telling Harry about Sirius Black. Sirius Black's in the background, and then it frames Harry all by himself, all alone. And that's the feeling of this film, is that Harry's kind of on his own for the majority of this film.
I agree, and it really shadows the fact that it feels like these people want Harry to be safe, but they don't want Harry to be involved. Everyone knows, and it's really telling when you find out later that Sirius Black is his godfather.
Yeah.
That they don't want him involved with it at all. They want to try and isolate him as much as possible because they're worried, obviously, that he might try and take his, like. I think it's that originally they're worried that Sirius might try and kill him.
Yeah, because that's what they're worried about. Because Sirius is broken out of Azkaban, and nobody's ever done it before, and they think that they're after to finish the job and kill Harry Potter.
Correct, because they think that he's the one that told Voldemort about his parents.
About theirs, he thought he was their secret keeper, and they thought that he was the one who gave away their hideout.
Yeah. So it's really interesting that they try and isolate him away from it instead of keeping him involved with all he's already done in his short time at Hogwarts. Which I understand he's still a child, but it really puts him in an awkward position where he has to grow and figure all these things out and deal with this isolation. And I feel like it really shapes him well into the later films.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think going further into the film, we get onto the Hogwarts Express and we meet the Dementors for the first time, and Professor Lupin, who might be the best professor of the dark arts. What do you think? Or Mad-Eye Moody, maybe?
I think Professor Lupin, due to the fact that Mad-Eye Moody just wasn't Mad-Eye Moody from,
right.
I think, the entirety
I have
of it.
some real problems with that, by the way, and I will get into it, Goblet of Fire, because the way that Mad-Eye Moody is portrayed in the Professor of Dark Arts, like, teaching, like, those are things that Mad-Eye Moody would do. So I think it would have been better if they gave him the Polyjuice Potion after he had done his lessons. We'll talk about it more in Goblet of Fire. But yeah, I do agree. I think Lupin is the best Professor against Dark Arts.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. I think he's handled really well, and as the actor is just fantastic. I've loved him in so many films already, and I'm really happy to see him whenever I do. I mean, when we watched Wonder Woman, I loved seeing him be the main villain. I love Lupin.
Yeah, I agree. I also, seeing Expecto Patronum for the first time was really thrilling. To see him get rid of the Dementors, I thought that was all really cool. Lots of good scenes with the Dementors in the film.
And can we talk about the use of CGI in this film and use of magic? It's just so well done. I mean, the Bogart scene in class.
Love the Bogart scene. I was actually just about to talk about that scene.
There's so much great animation, and it's handled so well to where there's not overdoing it to make it look cartoony. Everything is done well. Even when, like, the scene where he takes the Dementor's kiss and he starts to have his face sucked away. It's all handled really well. Can
we talk about the Bogart scene real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Snape's first scene in this film is him dressed up like an old lady. Can we just appreciate that for a second? Second of all, the Bogart is such a cool creature, and I actually really like that lesson. What a first lesson to have. Like, that's one of the reasons why Lupin is the best Professor against the Dark Arts teacher.
It's just so interesting how he takes things that are really important to learn if you're going to go out and not take a normal office position, and you're actually going to be out. You might one of some of the careers that people would have had, it would have been
like an aura.
An aura, thank you. I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah.
But it's really important to know what is out there, and you don't have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them as prevalent in the main series, even though the book is there. It's kind of that book that no one wants to use because it has all the animals in it. It's not used in Defense Against the Dark Arts. So it's important to see a creature in there and not just something that's pure evil.
Yeah, I really like the Bogart scene. I think Lupin, his introduction into the film, defeating the Dementors and then kind of defeating the Bogarts and training Harry on how to beat the Dementors. I think all of that stuff is really cool. And then on top of that, he's a werewolf.
You just really like werewolves, don't you?
Not really, but I am interested. I think that makes him such a layered character.
I definitely agree, and I love when Snape tries to hint at that. And I know that I love seeing, they use Hermione's genius because she catches on, she knows about it. And we get the famous, turn to page 396 scene.
Yeah.
It's just, everything is layered so nicely in this film.
Yeah, my theory on that is that Dumbledore actually sent him in to go ahead and give that lesson early, just in case, because he knows that Harry and Lupin are going to be spending a lot of time together. And knowing that Hermione is there, they can always see the signs early and get away, right?
So you think it's there as like a preventative measure just in case because they know Lupin's past was serious?
Yeah, and if it's not from Dumbledore, then it's from Snape, because Snape, the reason that Snape had so much trouble growing up is because of the Whomping Willow, and the Whomping Willow was put into place because of Lupin. And it was basically Lupin would turn into a werewolf ever so often, so they would send him to the Whomping Willow and let him be a werewolf in the Shrieking Shack for a little bit, and then come back. So one day James Potter tricked Snape into going into the Whomping Willow while Lupin was in there in werewolf form and almost got him killed, and that's why Snape hates James.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all of that together would lead him to, trying to give everybody a little bit of a heads up, like, hey, you don't want to fuck with werewolves, right?
And I just think that it's just so much layers in this film that leads so much later into the series. Like, once again, that, Snape isn't this dick guy all the time. He actually does care.
Yeah.
He's not just this asshole all the time. And there's so many things that people don't really catch as a solo film here and how much it means to the series.
Yeah, I mean, after coming into getting a Twitter and kind of getting into this nerd community, I've noticed a lot of hate towards Snape. I don't understand it personally because I think he's such a great character. So I see that a lot. If you think Snape's a great character, let me know down in the comments. Let us know down in the comments, because I have seen nothing but hate towards Snape since I've gotten on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and it's one of those things where I just don't understand it, because if you've read the books and you watch the final scenes of like Half-Blood Prince and even some of the earlier films where you really get a tell of what caused him to turn into this person, it really shows to see him just not hate everyone and try and kill everyone. It's amazing.
And then we get a couple more great scenes. The hippogriff scene's really fun. I like the way that is shot, the big swooping in the toe into the water. I thought that was really cool.
I agree, and it just leads back to the CGI in this film was really great, the animations. And then also the scene with Harry Potter falling and you have Dumbledore save him from the Dementors. I think that's a great scene. And it gives, once again, tell of how strong Dumbledore is.
Yeah, that's one of the... There's like 3 fade-ins or fade-outs.
Yeah, fade-outs.
It fades in, then it fades out, right?
I think it fades out and then in for that one.
I think that when he's falling, it fades into him, and then it fades out from the center when they into the hospital. You know what I'm saying? There's like 3 of those. One at the beginning of the film where it fades into him after the Lumos Maxima. There's one there, and then there's one other one I can't think. I think it's it's when he's getting the Dementor's kiss and he gets saved by the Patronus. So there's a lot of cool fade-ins and fade-outs. That's just another theme in the film that Alfonso Cuarón has introduced.
And of course, spoiler alert, Harry Potter is his own father. He's the one using the Patronus.
Turns out. I guess we should jump into the Time Turner stuff. I actually enjoy the Time Turner stuff. I actually like the way it was portrayed in the film better than the book personally. They are fairly similar with a couple of changes, but I actually really like the Time Turner scenes.
In thinking back to the Time Turner, I don't remember if it was used in the last book, but if it wasn't, I kind of wish it was.
A Time Turner has only been used once.
Yeah, it's only been used
in the Cursed Child, but doesn't.
We don't count it yet. Yeah. Come back next year, man. We might talk about this in review.
I'd love to see the play. I don't know why people hate on Cursed Child. I actually really like that book.
But past that, I would love to see the Time Turner come back and be used in like one of the later films, because it's such a great dynamic that there's so many laws of time and time travel and physics that you have to worry about when you're using it. I think it's such a great character to give in Hermione with what we have learned to get from her. You know, she is the genius. She is the prodigy. It's going to work her ass off to be the best in the class, and she's the only one that could do this properly.
Yeah, she's one of the few characters I would trust with a time turner. This is one of the few retcons J.K. Rowling has done, and to destroying all the time turners in the fourth book because she realized they were just way too powerful. So, I mean, that is what it is, but I really enjoy the things that we see in the time turner scene. We kind of see a couple of things that we've already seen before. We save the hippogriff, we save Sirius, we get the big reveal that Sirius isn't the bad guy, and that Ron's rat is the bad guy. Peter Pettigrew, right?
There are some great theories behind this, by the way, that, you know, what has Peter Pettigrew seen as Ron's rat?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, we get the Marauders map in this film. Like, there's so many great things in this film. Please, go watch it again. Go watch it as an adult and think about it from
Dude, the Marauders maps in this film, too? Jeez.
Yeah!
There's a lot of good stuff in this film. But to wrap it all up here, Lupin turns into a werewolf, and Sirius tries to save us, and we get the Dementor's kiss with Harry Potter doing the best Patronus of his entire life, right?
It doesn't do a better one after this.
I don't think so. Especially not in the movies. I wish they would go back into the movies and make them stags like they're supposed to be. I think his Patronus is supposed to be a stag.
Yeah.
Just because I don't like the ball of light thing, because it's not in the book like that, you know? So that kind of bums me out. But I do like the scene where they come back up to the tower and said, "We did it," and Dumbledore's like, "Did what?" I think the new Dumbledore is such like a little nebulous kind of character. I actually really like his portrayal.
Michael Gambon plays it perfectly, and you know, no offense to Richard Harris, but I think that Richard Harris couldn't have done what Michael Gambon brought to this role, and I love him as it. I kind of wish I could have seen him as the first two. I don't think it would have changed how it was played any differently due to the different director, but it's just fantastic. He's the perfect Dumbledore.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Got any closing thoughts on Prisoner of Azkaban?
Please, just go watch it again if you haven't watched it in a while. Rewatch the whole series and just think back to how much this movie affected the entirety of the series, because it affects it so much more than basically any other movie in the first four. Because I consider the first four preludes to the final three, and that's what makes it so good. I believe Final four.
Yeah, I agree. I think the third movie's by far hands down the best. I mean, it's a great transitional movie. We get a lot of good story, a lot of good plot, and a great directed film. For me, 10 out of 10, like I said. If you guys are liking these reviews, please let us know. Like I said, we put them up on every Tuesday, and we are trying to crank them out for you guys. So please follow us on Twitter, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Later.